Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a multi-billion-dollar conflict. Now this isn't a war fought with soldiers, but with sensors, with software, and with some radically different business models. We're breaking down what we're calling the 2025 Diabetes Tech War. And just so you know, this analysis is powered by HDIN Research.
So to really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number. By 2025, just one company, Abbott, is expected to sell $7.6 billion worth of its glucose sensors. That's it, just the sensors. This is not some niche market, you know? It's an absolute global battlefield where fortunes are being made and lost.
And on that battlefield, you've got 5 key players locked in this incredibly fierce competition: Abbott, Dexcom, Insulet, Tandem, and Embecta. And for them, 2025 is a real make or break year. It's a moment that's going to separate the true innovators from the legacy players who are just, well, struggling to survive.
Okay, here's how we're going to break down this whole corporate clash. We'll start with the market landscape. Then we'll look at the head-to-head duels in sensors and pumps. After that, we have to talk about the surprising impact of weight loss drugs. And finally, we'll wrap it up with a financial outlook on who's really built to last.
All right, let's get into it. First up, let's just follow the money. What are the 2025 financials really telling us about who's winning this war for market share?
You know, the numbers here, they tell a pretty dramatic story. You've got the explosive, over 30% growth from an innovator like Insulet, which is just staggering. And then you have the solid double-digit performance from the sensor giants, Abbott and Dexcom. But then, the story really turns. Look at the legacy player, Embecta. Their sales are actually shrinking. The market is very clearly picking winners and losers right now.
Okay, let's move on to our first stool, the Continuous Glucose Monitor Arena, or CGM. This is really the foundational tech of modern diabetes care. And 2 titans, Dexcom and Abbott, completely, and I mean completely, dominate this field.
So this isn't just about who can make a better sensor. It's actually a fundamental clash of strategies. On one hand, Dexcom has this laser focus on being the absolute best-in-class CGM expert, period. Abbott, on the other hand, sees its sensor as kind of the central hub for a much broader health ecosystem.
And you can see this clash in strategy show up right in their products. Dexcom is doubling down on its core market with more accurate sensors. They're touting an 8.0% MARD value, which is a key accuracy measure where lower is better, and they're also pushing for longer wear times. But here's the kicker. They're also expanding downstream with Stelo, their over-the-counter sensor. Meanwhile, Abbott's going the other way. They're expanding upstream with Lingo, aiming their tech at the general wellness market. So basically, they're both trying to grow the pie, just from opposite ends.
Let's shift gears to our next battleground, the insulin pump market. Here, the fight is all about the algorithms and, maybe even more importantly, freedom from tubes. For patients, this is a classic choice. On one side, you have Insulet's Omnipod. It's simple, it's convenient, it's a tubeless patch that's sold almost like a subscription. Then on the other side, you've got Tandem's T-Slim. It's a more traditional pump, sure, but it's incredibly powerful, and it's driven by what a lot of people consider the best algorithm in the industry. So it's really freedom versus power.
And wow, their financial paths could not be more different. Both companies spend a massive 43% of their revenue on sales and marketing. For Insulet, that spending gets them that incredible 30% growth. For Tandem, the same level of spending is only getting them single-digit growth. That is a huge difference in your return on investment. And it really makes you wonder, right? Is the market for tubed pumps just hitting a wall?
The pace of innovation in this space is just absolutely brutal. The legacy injection maker, Embecta, they tried to get into this game, but they were forced to just abandon their patch pump program completely, writing off over $34 million in the process. It's such a clear signal. If you don't have a world-class algorithm, you simply cannot compete.
Okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the one thing that has shaken investor confidence across this entire industry, the meteoric rise of new weight loss drugs like Ozempic.
And this brings up a pretty terrifying question for all these hardware companies, right? If these powerful new drugs reduce or maybe even get rid of the need for insulin altogether, does that make all this incredible sensor and pump technology obsolete?
Well, the data shows the answer is a very nuanced no. For the sensor makers, like Dexcom and Abbott, it's actually a huge opportunity. Their devices become these companion products to track how well the drugs are working. For the pump makers, it's more of a short-term headwind. Maybe it delays when a patient starts therapy. But for the traditional needle maker, Embecta, this is a severe, long-term, structural threat.
So where does all this leave us for 2026? When you put it all together, who has the strongest competitive moat? And where are the biggest financial red flags hiding?
So if you dig into the financials, some pretty serious risks pop out. At Tandem, the amount of money that customers owed them grew 5 times faster than their actual sales. That could be a huge warning sign that they're just pushing products into the distribution channel that aren't actually selling through to patients. And at the same time, their business is still burning cash. Embecta's situation, it's even more precarious. With negative shareholder equity, they basically owe more than they own.
The winners, on the other hand, they're building these powerful defenses. Abbott has its sheer unmatched global scale. You can't compete with that easily. Dexcom has its lead in technology and that really clever move into the over-the-counter market. And then Insulet, well, it has a truly unique product combined with a sticky, recurring revenue business model that customers just seem to love.
So what's the final verdict for 2026? Well, it seems like the battle is no longer just about who has the coolest piece of hardware. The winners are going to be the ones who master the algorithm, the ones who successfully expand from Type 1 into that massive Type 2 market, and, maybe most importantly, the ones who can actually generate enough cash to fuel their own growth without having to rely on debt.
And that really leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought. In this new era of connected health, what actually matters more? Having the best device or having the best business model? The answer to that is going to determine the future of this entire industry. This analysis was powered by HDIN Research. Thanks for watching The Explainer.